Twilight, time zones. Combine them together. Boom! Twilight Zone. I forgot but whatever. Anyways, I'm going to start my whole 10-minute tangent on summarizing what this show is about before getting into the meat and potatoes. Twilight Zone, a show so influential that even if you've never seen or even watched a single episode, you've at least heard of it. Maybe you've watched a parody of it, or maybe you've seen Watch Mojo's top 10 scariest plot twists in TV history and saw the Twilight Zone as one of the honorable mentions or whatever. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but you get the point. What is Twilight Zone?
Harold, is the coffee all right?
Mm-mm.
You mean it's as bad as yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
No improvement at all?
Mm-mm.
Harold, don't just shake your head. You've got to tell me what's wrong with the coffee.
Bad taste.
Now, what am I gonna do?
Hey, I'm the self-insert character. Hey, what's up, guys? 9/11? You guys know that, you guys heard of Fortnite before? You guys heard of Fortnite? Fortnite's pretty good. You know Fortnite? A lot of old school TV can feel quite outdated and honestly not that good. I mean, who really wants to watch some old guy talk about how life was better when he could hit his wife and get away with it back in the 50s? Exactly. But the Twilight Zone was truly ahead of its time. It blended horror, science fiction, and psychological drama in ways that hadn't really been seen before during the time of its release. And it still holds up. Why? Because the things people were scared of back then, paranoia, isolation, and the unknown, are things we're still scared of today. But not me though. I'm just cool like that. Let's take a step back and talk about Rod Serling. He was that guy. Serling didn't just write spooky stories to shit your pants to. He used sci-fi and horror to tackle real-world issues, you know, political corruption, racism, famine. You get the gist of it. But what made Serling stand out from other authors like Stephen King was his ability to convey the fragility of human morality into a script, making Twilight Zone more than just that scary show. It was social commentary disguised as entertainment, a reflection of the fears and dilemmas that still resonate with many today. The 50s were full of sitcoms. I Love Lucy.
Girls are kind of lucky, don't they, Mom?
Why do you say that?
Well, they don't have to be smart.
Leave It to Beaver.
I forgot that you're a woman. How could I? You're always yapping. What do you mean I don't treat you like a woman? I treat you like a woman. I let you sew, I let you cook, I let you wash the...
The Honeymooners, and some other stuff I Google, but that's beside the point. It's impressive that this show can subtly address controversial topics while being framed in the network as speculative fiction. The network executives, wary of anything overtly political, were more willing to approve shitty sitcoms instead of direct critique of contemporary society. Well, to be fair, maybe that's a good thing. I mean, have you seen all these new shows that shove down politics down again your throat? Maybe. The network executive back then could see the future and wanted to warn us about the impending doom of seeing someone making a joke about the US president for the 80th time in 12 minutes. But beneath those imaginative premises, Shillings' messages were clear. His episodes often held a mirror up to the audience, forcing them to confront the uncomfortable truths of their own world. As a result, the Twilight Zone became more than just a television show. It became a cultural landmark. Over the course of 5 seasons, it produced some of the most legendary, thought-provoking, and unsettling stories in television history. Shillings' writing had a way of staying with you, not just because of shocking twists or eerie atmospheres, but because his stories tapped into something deeply human: our fears, our flaws, and the consequences of our actions. His influence is undeniable, not just in horror, but in science fiction, fantasy, and even modern political storytelling. As previously stated, everyone has heard of the Twilight Zone before, even the North Sentinelese. I was promptly introduced to it in my early teens. I'm 21 now, so yeah, it's been a minute. Back then, I was a massive Futurama fan. I'd binged the hell out of that show when I was supposed to be studying, but I couldn't care less. I was a dumb kid with an insatiable thirst for that futuristic Simpsons slop. That was until one day I watched an episode parodying the Twilight Zone, the Scary Door. For those who don't know, the Scary Door is basically Futurama's version of the Twilight Zone. Ominous narration, spooky setups, and then an absolutely stupid punchline that undercuts everything. Like a man who gets everything he's ever wanted, only to immediately die. The joke is that it looks deep and philosophical, but it always swerves into something aggressively dumb. And naturally, my dumb teenage brain went, "Wait, what is this parodying?" So I looked it up and boom, the Twilight Zone. I started where every intellectually curious teenager starts. Watch Mojo's shitty top 10 scariest Twilight Zone episodes. And after enough clips and dramatic countdowns, I finally said, yeah, you know what? Well, let me just watch this on the TV. That might also be the first time I ever willingly watched something in black and white. And honestly, that was the moment it all went wrong. That was the birth of what I am now, a pretentious nerd who makes semi-philosophical videos about grief, identity, and Japanese media. And that's why, that's kind of why I'm making this video in the first place. The Twilight Zone holds a genuinely special place in my heart. I love Twilight. Before I talk about the original Twilight Zone, I want to discuss the 2019 remake by Jordan Peele, one half of the famous and possibly a homosexual comedic duo Key and Peele. The 2019 revival of Twilight Zone is a strange thing to pin down, mostly because it exists under the weight of something that already feels complete. The original series isn't just remembered as a good show, it's remembered as a language, a shorthand for stories where reality bends just enough to expose something uncomfortable about the people inside it. When Jordan Peele brought the series back, the goal was never really to recreate that exact feeling, because that version of television doesn't exist anymore. Instead, the reboot tries to translate the idea of the Twilight Zone into a modern context using contemporary fears the same way the original used Cold War paranoia, conformity, and distrust of authority. Each episode is self-contained, which means the show lives and dies on individual ideas rather than long-term storytelling. Some episodes work because they trust the audience to sit with ambiguity, while others feel more like thought experiments that already know their conclusion before they begin. A lot of the 2019 Twilight Zone is less interested in shocking twists, more interested in inevitability, in watching characters walk directly towards outcomes that feel avoidable but somehow aren't. It's a series about systems, about social pressure, about how people behave when they think they're being observed or judged, even if they don't know by whom. Because of that, I didn't want to go into this picking a best episode or one that supposedly represents the show at its peak. Instead, I put every episode into a wheel of names and let it choose for me. No curation, no intention, just randomness. And what it landed on was 6 Degrees of Freedom, an episode about people being selected, tested, and observed without their consent, which feels almost too on the nose. Out of all the episodes, this is the one I ended up with, not because I thought it would say the most, but because it was chosen for me, the same way the characters inside it are chosen for their own experiment. The episode opens by doing the most textbook sci-fi thing imaginable, a slideshow of Earth and humanity. You know, the drill, horses, polar bears, cities, just in case you forgot what a planet is. It's basically the intro you'd see before a museum exhibit called Humans, why they didn't make it, and then we get to meet the crew. We've got Alexa Brandt, the commander, Casey, the pilot, Ray Tanaka, the flight engineer, a surgeon, and Jerry. Before launch, they're all doing this weird pre-mission bonding dance, and it's clearly meant to show unity, but it's mostly feels too forced. This is the calm before the storm, because immediately after that, they get information that North Korea is launching missiles. Hwasong? More like Hwa. Hey, yeah, you guys know the Let's Go music video? Yeah, this is practically the episode.
I know that game. I play that game.
Anyways, there's a brief moment where they debate whether or not to actually launch the mission, because if they didn't, the episode would be like 5 minutes long, so obviously they go anyway.
A search for safe harbor here in the Twilight.
Hey, aren't you the who got that goodie? You know, the 90-degree dangle. You're so funny, executive producer for him 2025, Jordan Peele. They count down, launch, and then immediately go into hibernation. You know, I always wondered, where is Hyber from, you know? They always saying hibernation, like, imagine that someone is from Hyber. Hibernation! When they wake up, things start getting weird fast. I don't know, why is she eating her nails? We got food. Anyways, Jerry, being Jerry, starts acting like the smartest guy in the room, starts saying some shit. Yeah, I don't know. Hey Casey, what you look like, Bro Jared? You know, the fajitas guy. When the fajitas sizzling, you know what I'm saying? The characters ramble through their development beats, talking about fears, regrets, and destiny, while the episode quietly sets up that something is extremely wrong. Yeah, I get you. There's also me when John Park don't pick up my call. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Shortly after that, two characters have sexy time, which we can skip because nothing important happens except the commander getting mad about it. Then they pick up a signal connected to the golden record, which is supposed to be profound and all that stuff, but all I can think about is how the modern version of it would be. They got like, I don't know, Fortnite? Faker? Ting 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 sahur? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm like hip with the kids, you know what I'm saying? Jerry, already halfway to a crash out, start doing freaky tongue experiments and collecting samples like he's entering a competition. The script is ass, you know. I fucking wrote me when a Pokemon viewer at Pokemon House. That's the level of that's the level I am here right now, man. Fast forward to a birthday scene because apparently time still matters, and Ray cries because apparently you get sad when everyone you knew and never loved died. but whatever. At this point, Jerry crashes out and announces that none of this is real. He goes full conspiracy mode, insisting they're in a simulation, and honestly my theory is that they're just stuck in the default Pico 4 home lobby. A solar flare starts happening. Jerry is explaining the science behind why reality isn't real, and I genuinely could not care less because he immediately opens the airlock and dies. Anyways, they finally arrive at Mars, except plot twist. They didn't. It was aliens the whole time. The entire mission was a simulation designed to test whether humans are capable of cooperation, empathy, and not immediately imploding under pressure. Just fucking stupid. In summary, where this episode and honestly much of the Twilight Zone 2019 tends to stumble is not in what it wants to talk about, but in how little faith it has in the audience to engage within on their own, you know. The political ideas themselves aren't controversial or even particularly radical, and that isn't the issue. The issue is how aggressively the episode insists on making sure you understand exactly what it's all about at all times. Every peril is spelled out, every metaphor is underlined, and every connection is reinforced again and again and again, to the point where it starts to feel less like a story and more like a checklist of references pulled straight from the news. Instead of letting the situation speak for itself, the episode stacks signifiers on top of each other, characters who exist almost entirely to represent a position, dialogue that explains its own meaning, visual cues that mirror real-world events so closely that there's no room left for interpretation. That's what makes the episode feel so strangely dull despite the weight of its subject matter. What's the subject matter? Fucking aliens? Alright, this is like day 3, and it's a different setup because this bum ass green screen is like fucking me over every time. There's like this green screen stand. It's like ass. Anyways, the 2002 revival of the Twilight Zone sits in a strange middle space. It's not as culturally sacred as the original series, and it never carried the same expectations or scrutiny as the 2019 reboot, which means it often gets overlooked entirely. But because of that, it sometimes feels closer in spirit to what the Twilight Zone has always been about. Smaller stories, simpler premises, and moral ideas that aren't shouted, just quietly placed in front of you and left there. The Lineman is the episode I got, and it's those episodes that I randomly chose. I didn't choose this. So, this episode opens by introducing us to like Rivers Cuomo, just yapping to himself about life and all, you know. Well, he's a lineman, which means his entire job is climbing electricity poles and doing the Try Not to Die challenge epic. Naturally, within minutes, he gets to the pole, gets struck by lightning, and immediately gets electrocuted. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm ready for work. That smells like hamburgers. Ayo, that's a funny joke. Good one, best. Cut to the hospital. He's alive, but now he has like powers. Not cool powers like unlimited money or unlimited chicken. He can hear people's thoughts about... he can hear through electricity. So that's the powers. He makes some baby cry, and this is our introduction to the episode's core concept. What if someone had empathy? We jump to a party because every early 2000s TV show legally has to include one, and we meet the love interest. I mean, re-meet technically, but whatever. Who explains that she's like responsible for him getting electrocuted. I mean, it's his job, so whatever, man. Like, he starts listening to everyone's thoughts, and instead of doing anything normal with this information, he immediately spirals. At this point, I'm thinking, maybe the plot twist is that he's just schizo and none of this is real, because he starts Googling lightning. No idea where they're just gonna get you, bud. You do you. When I think of lightning, I only think of the best music hit of all time, Thunder by Imagine Dragons. Anyone here Imagine Dragons fans? Ayo!
Hey, you gay or something? Back off.
He goes to a scientist or like a doctor to explain his powers, and he basically like tells him he's bullshitting, which is honestly pretty realistic. But then he just goes Sigma Ultra mode and like finds out his secretary is pregnant with his child and told the doctor, you are having sex with your secretary. Oh, fuck me, man. Eventually, he does use his powers to fucking stupid fucking piece of shit fucking Stan.
Jesus, it's like fucking hot here, you know? Ah, shit.
Hello, I'm no longer like Rod Sterling. I'm just like some bum ass guy who just got off work. Eventually, he does use his powers to make money, listening to Wall Street traders' thoughts and instantly becoming rich. He's basically like Mr. Beast now. His power trip kicks in. He starts creeping people out, and he realizes his best friend is cucking him. Tries to like grizz up the love interest again, who's like way into corporations. Like, he was saying all of that stuff about buying like Epstein Island or whatever, and she was like,
no, they are real people. Corporations are going down because of you.
Hey man, you don't have to stab yourself, just put that thing in your tongue, you know what I'm saying?
anyways, his self-destructive spiral is reaching cartoon levels. He ambushes the love interest at a playground, tries to psychologically manipulate her into loving him.
Hey man, you sure you can drive?
Things escalate until he tries to kill friend guy, then immediately doesn't because the power of friendship activates at the last second or whatever. He goes to a cemetery and like hears all the dead people's thoughts, and he is searching for peace.
Please give me peace!
Hey man, you want this?
Anyways, he climbs another electrical pole and gets electrocuted again. And here's the real Twilight Zone moment. He wakes up back in time before everything went wrong. A reset, a second chance. Except now his powers are even worse. He can hear more, feel more, suffer more. And yeah, that's the episode, by the way. Compared to later iterations of the Twilight Zone, the lineman feels almost modest. It isn't chasing relevance or trying to mirror a specific headline. It trusts that the idea of emotional labor, unseen suffering, and the cost of empathy is universal enough to stand on its own. There's no sermon, no narration explaining the moral, no instances where that the audience feel a certain way. It simply presents a man who listens too closely to the world and pays the price for it. And in doing so, it captures something the franchise has always done best, using the unreal to quietly reflect something painfully real. It's not bad, just like 2000s, you know? The 1985 revival of The Twilight Zone feels closer to the original series than any of the later attempts, not because it tries to replicate Rod Serling beat for beat, but because it understands something fundamental about the format. That the show works best when it's small, strange, and confident enough to let silence and implication do the heavy lifting. This time, I got the episode Monsters. Monster. So, this episode opens by introducing us to the most aggressively normal white suburban family imaginable. Quiet, everyone looks like they're about to eat like Chick-fil-A or something. Normal stuff. Immediately, the kid starts snooping around because, I don't know, I think someone moved. Like, I forgot. We're then introduced to Ben Dixon, the weird neighbor who wastes absolutely no time explaining that he is in fact a vampire. He starts going on about how the kid guy doesn't really understand monsters and how humans are the real danger, which is kind of weird because whenever someone says that, they're either like vampires or they're about to start a podcast. High five. The kid immediately hits him with that, actually? And like kills him or whatever.
He said boo.
After that, the kid starts developing sneezing. I guess that's like one of those intimidating vampire symptoms. Then the kid snoops some more and catches Ben Dixon casually lifting a car.
Hey, Mr. Ben Dixon, you Mr. Olympia or something? You like sleep a bit. Hey, Mr. Ben Dixon, you know me, Mr. Ben Dixon.
Ben Dixon goes out of his way to explain that he's not one of those vampires. Garlic doesn't bother him. Crosses don't work. Mirrors are fine. Basically, the episode's just saying that just don't rely on Wikipedia. So now the twist starts forming. Maybe he's not a vampire at all. Maybe he's just some random guy. Maybe this is all in the head. Maybe the real monsters is the friends we made along the way. Things escalate when Kid Guy breaks into Ben Dixon's house and finds blood bags in the fridge. At this point, all subtlety is gone. Toby, which is the Kid Guy by the way, gets sick and Ben Dixon just starts showing up in his room at night like that funny Family Guy bit of Ringo. That pussy! He shows Kid Guy his grave, tells him it's time for him to die or whatever, and starts talking about genetics in a way that makes him sound like a eugenics guy.
Where are they?
Okay.
What do you know about genetics?
Mutants.
Eugenics episode?
Just eugenics guy, like, you know.
Then Ben Dixon claims that the greatest gift he can give Kid Guy isn't immortality or power or wisdom. It's fireflies. Like, yeah, man. Thanks for the glowing butterflies. And then comes the real twist. The family, the neighbors, the entire wholesome white suburban setting flips. And it turns out they're the monsters. Werewolves. They're werewolves. Everyone dogpiles Ben Dixon and kills him, proving that the scariest thing in the episode isn't the vampire next door, but the quiet neighborhood that was hiding claws the whole time. Ben Dixon dies, of course, not because he was evil, but because he was different. The episode ends with the Kid Guy showing that guy the fireflies, and honestly, I don't fully know what this episode means. I guess it refuses to draw a clear line between external threat and internal fear. It understands that paranoia is a self-sustaining force, one that doesn't require proof to grow. It isn't about aliens or imposters as much as it's about how quickly suspicion can rot trust, and how easily fear can turn ordinary people into something unrecognizable. The lesson lingers quietly instead, long after the episode ends, leaving you to wonder, whether the monsters were ever really there at all, or if they only came into existence the moment someone decided to start looking for them. All in all, this episode sucks. Finally, we're at the show that I was supposed to talk about instead of talking about the other reboots. It only took like 20 minutes? So, Nick of Time. That's the episode we're going here. So, Nick of Time opens by introducing us to a completely normal couple, which in Twilight Zone terms means something is about to go horribly wrong in the most mundane way possible. Their car needs repairing or something for like 4 hours, long enough to rethink your entire life, or in this case, wander into a diner. Oh. They sit down in the diner and immediately spot a cool-ass Mystic Seer machine, one of those little tabletop fortune teller things that, tells the future or something. Anyways, Guy puts money into the machine and it tells him he's going to get promoted. Oh, woohoo! Am I right? But nah, this is the Twilight Zone, so he will get his balls chopped. Sure enough, he actually does get the job promotion. Instead of celebrating like a normal human being, He immediately decides this means the machine controls reality. Hey guys, I got machine. It says I'm gonna be so cool. From here on out, the man becomes absolutely consumed by the machine. He starts asking it more questions, like it's ChatGPT. Look. Ooh, woohoo! The machine warns them that they're in danger, which flips the switch in his brain permanently to super monkey scared mode. Something about like the time or something, and they will be in danger at that time. Yeah, I forgot about it already. It's like been like a week since this video sucks. Anyways, the couple nearly dies in a random accident. No, my final! Anyways, the couple nearly dies in a random accident, and the machine's prediction ends up being technically correct. And that's the worst possible outcome, because now the guy is fully convinced the machine predicts the future, not controls it. Predicts it. They rush back to the diner and start interrogating the machine. The man spirals, start treating every vague answer as gospel. His wife, meanwhile, is slowly realizing she's going to marry someone who would absolutely ruin their life over Akinator. You guys remember that? You guys remember Akinator? That was cool. I love Akinator. Eventually, they leave the diner. What I like about this episode is that they don't storm out in fear, they don't wait for permission from the machine, they just go. The couple chooses to move on, choosing uncertainty over obsession, which in Twilight Zone terms is basically the happiest ending you're allowed to have. But then... But then we cut to another couple sitting at the same table, completely consumed by the machine, too scared to leave because it told them something bad might happen. Same diner, same machine, different people, proving the problem was never the object itself, but how badly humans want certainty, even if it traps them. In the end, Nick of Time isn't really about whether the machine can tell the future or not. The episode never gives you a clear answer, and that's the point. What matters is that the couple realizes how quickly they let a cheap fortune teller take control of their decisions. The moment they stop asking questions and choose to leave the diner anyway, the machine loses all power over them. That choice, walking away without certainty, is the real victory of the episode. They accept that life is unpredictable, that bad things might happen, and that no machine is ever going to give them a perfect roadmap. And for once in the Twilight Zone, that acceptance actually leads to hope instead of my fucking teleprompter taking 5 years to fucking do, so I have to say one word, Jesus fucking Christ. And for once in the Twilight Zone, that acceptance actually leads to hope instead of punishment. The final shot showing another couple trapped by the same machine makes the message painfully clear. The danger isn't fate, prophecy, or the future. It's obsession. The machine doesn't ruin lives. People do. The moment they stop trusting themselves. Yeah, you can clearly see I'm biased. If the Twilight 1960s, this episode was really good. Looking at all of these episodes side by side, what's kind of insane is how the Twilight Zone keeps telling the same story for 60 years straight, just with a different costume. Whether it's a fortune-telling machine in a diner, a kid convinced his neighbor is a monster, a man who hears too much of the world through electricity, or a group of humans failing an alien D20 check in space. The problem is always the same. People can't handle uncertainty. In the older episodes, the horror is quiet. Nick of Time and monsters don't rely on spectacle. They rely on paranoia. A machine doesn't force anyone to stay in the diner. Ben Dixon doesn't actually turn the neighborhood into monsters. The fear comes from obsession, suspicion, and the human need to explain everything, even when it doesn't need to. I gotta make the teleprompter a bit faster. And when characters choose to walk away or choose empathy over fear, those episodes end with something rare for the Twilight Zone: hope. The 2002, on the other hand, episode sits right in the middle. The lineman takes that paranoia and turns it inward instead of fearing the unknown. The horror comes from knowing too much, hearing everyone's pain, everyone's thoughts, everyone's greed until it breaks you. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's brutal in a way that feels uncomfortably real. Caring without limits becomes self-destruction. And then you hit 2019, where the subtlety gets thrown out the airlock. 6 Degrees of Freedom doesn't whisper its message, it shouts it, repeats it, and then explains it again, just in case you missed it. The fear isn't ambiguous anymore. Humans are tested, humans fail, question mark? Roll credits. It's less about discovering the moral and more about being handed it directly, which kind of kills the magic that made the original Twilight Zone hit so hard. But even then, the core idea never changes. The Twilight Zone has never been about monsters, aliens, or twist endings. I think it is, Brack. The script sucks. It's always been about us, our fear of the future, our obsession with control, our paranoia, and our inability to just sit without not knowing anything. Every era reflects the anxiety of its time, but the mirror it holds up is always the same. So whether it's a diner booth, a suburban white street, an electrical pole, or a spaceship headed to Mars, the Twilight Zone keeps asking one question: what happens when humans are left alone with their thoughts? And the answer across every decade is usually the same. We panic, we overthink, and we make everything worse. And somehow, that's why it still works. God, I love you, Twilight Zone.